Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Jason Metz, insurance analyst at Forbes Advisor, a trusted destination for unbiased personal finance advice, news, and reviews to discuss travel insurance and how to guard your travel plans against pandemic problems. Jason, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Give us a high-level overview on how travel insurance works.
So essentially, travel insurance is a policy that helps reimburse you for non-refundable expenses for problems that might happen that would interrupt your trip. For example, non-refundable expenses might include airline tickets, hotel, museum passes, and problems could include problems like flight delays, lost baggage, or medical problems such as if you get injured or sick on your trip. Generally, the more you spend on your trip, the greater the need for travel insurance. So if you're only taking a trip, 48-hour road trip to a cabin, you might not need it. But for longer trips with more non-refundable expenses and more problems that could come along the way, like an international trip, that's when it's a good idea to really take a look at travel insurance.
How has COVID-19 changed the way travel insurance works?
It's a good question. Prior to coronavirus, most travel insurance policies don't cover epidemics or pandemics because they're called what's considered a foreseeable problem, meaning that it's more likely that this known event is going to cause disruptions in travel. Since COVID-19, a lot of travel insurance companies have created coverages that are specific to COVID-related problems. For example, you can buy travel insurance policies that cover trip cancellations if you or a passenger gets sick, or even medical coverage, which will, if you're sick during your trip, some of your medical expenses could be covered by this travel insurance policy, where previously those type of problems wouldn't have been covered.
What are your top tips to help navigate to the right travel insurance?
So not every travel insurance policy is going to cover COVID-related problems. And obviously, there's a lot of optimism because of vaccines, and we're trying to get over the hump. And there's, according to a lot of the travel insurance companies we work with, people are booking trips and the desire to travel is strong, but we're not over the pandemic yet. So the top tip would be make sure you get coverage that covers coronavirus-related problems, especially if you're traveling internationally, where your health insurance might not extend to international trips. That's where you want to look for things like medical coverage that covers COVID-related problems. Trip cancellation is also a must-buy. And that could cover you if coronavirus interrupts your trip, but also other problems like natural disaster, severe weather, serious injuries, even legal obligations, like if you could call for jury duty and you can't get out of it, that's where trip cancellation insurance. And then the last I would add, especially now, because flexibility is probably the most important part of a travel insurance policy, would be cancel for any reason coverage. And that sounds like what it is. You can cancel your trip for any reason, whether it's coronavirus related problems or you just want to stay home and watch Netflix. And you'll get a portion of your non-refundable expenses reimbursed. A couple of things to keep in mind with cancel for any reason coverage is it typically adds about 40% onto your overall travel insurance costs. And you have to buy it within 7 to 21 days of your first initial trip payment, depending on your insurance company. And it won't reimburse you 100% of your non-refundable expenses, but it's typically around 50 to 75% depending on your insurance company.
Those are all great points that you brought up. So you really do have to read the fine print because, as you mentioned, not all insurance companies cover pandemic disruptions. And my follow-up to that was going to be, well, how much does it cost? Is it even worth it? I mean, 40% that sounds like a lot to not get 100% of your money back. Or are all plans that expensive?
Well, the 40% is for the cancel for any reason coverage. You don't have to buy that. Cancel for any reason is an optional coverage, but it's a good idea to tack on with so much uncertainty. A lot of people are looking to go big, I think, when they can travel, right? They're looking to get some of these bucket list destinations out of the way or go, on a big international trip. If you're spending thousands of dollars and we're not out of the clear with this pandemic and with so much uncertainty, a coverage like that, where it could tack on 40% of the overall cost of your travel insurance policy, it's worth looking at. If something comes up at that last minute that you can't go, you can at least get something back.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure, as you had said, everybody is looking to get out of the house and take some pretty incredible vacations. Jason, great insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me back. Have a good day.